These are Techy Tuesdays on Expressive. Welcome, everyone. This is Expressive. My name is Bliss King. Well, many tech websites have suggested or reported that in the month of January, WhatsApp lost a lot of downloads, approximately about 2 million of them. Whilst other platforms like Telegram have seen increases in downloads. Why? Because of data. A lot of people are confused about what it means to gather data and what WhatsApp intends to use the data for. As it released a communique stating that it intends to share data with the broader Facebook platform. Well, of course, other tech CEOs are also chiming in, with Tim Cook, CEO of Apple, saying that we cannot allow social media, a social dilemma, to become a complete catastrophe. It means many people are against this data move from Facebook. Who owns WhatsApp, Instagram, also a very big fish in the water? To help us make sense of all of this, Dr. Kester Quist-Aphetsi is the head of the Department of Computer Science and a senior lecturer at the Ghana Communications Technology University, formerly known as the Ghana Telecom University. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning.
Thank you for coming to see us on our program.
Yeah, thank you too.
Let's begin to make meaning of all this data and WhatsApp issues to the ordinary Ghanaian.
Okay.
What or how does a company gather data on people?
Okay, so data gathering on communication and people within the space of technology became something of a reality when during the Cold War. And we have the intelligence agency and government trying to know what people are saying, who is talking to who. So they try to collect all those sets of data. Then when the internet was booming and a lot of people was connecting, these agencies also have realized that they have to collect data on people. So you've heard about the Echelon, the 5 Eyes, Snowden issue, and stuff like that. Now, the tech companies also have seen an opportunity when commerce was sent to the net, where people can buy and people can search a lot of things. So if you can do target marketing very effectively, then that means you can sell a lot. And when you look at this COVID period also as well, or from last year up to this year, you realize that more online activities has gone up. So which means that the more data you have on somebody that you can use, the better competitive you will be within the market space. So that is what data is being used for by the tech giants in terms of e-commerce.
Those are the beginnings of gathering data. And you say this started during the Cold War.
Yes.
It was quite some time ago.
Yeah.
So let people understand how data is gathered. If I go to the pharmacy to maybe buy a drug, and the attendant says, oh, can I have your name and your number? Is that data?
Yes. So information in terms of your name, number, age, and your location, and the things you do, your lifestyle, all those things are data that is gathered. And when you look at the tech space also as well, when Facebook started, you realized that the number was growing up. Then came WhatsApp. Now, Facebook realized that if in case they don't move very fast within the data gathering space, they will be running out. So they decided to acquire WhatsApp and then other social media so that they can broaden their space of data collection and remain dominant. So that is how the tech companies can be very smart in terms of gathering that. But when you go to a pharmacy and then you provide your information, as you said, or other places, this data is being gathered. But when you look at the tech space, it's much more easier for an identification to be attached to a user. A very good example is when you have your mobile phone, you have the mobile device itself has an ID, which means that irrespective of which SIM you use in it, we can still identify the phone you are using. Which at Ghana Communication Technology, we build a COVID-19 tracker application that we can track people irrespective of the phone they switch. And at the same time, we can track them even if they use their SIM in different phones also as well. You know, people want to be smart when they are doing the check. They don't want people to know that they are the ones doing the check. And you have to also do that kind of accuracy. So, and also we have systems where even though you are not the one, okay, let me go a little bit further. Even though you are not using the phone, one phone, and you are not also using one SIM, you can still be tracked. Okay, based on your activities. Things like email also. And we are living in a world where currently your voice signature can be detected.
Your voice signature?
Yes, so everybody has a voice signature, which means if you use my phone to call someone, it can be detected that you are the one who made the call. So that is how far we've reached within the space of...
Are consumers informed by companies that their data is being taken? And if they are, how are they informed?
Okay. In some cases, they are informed. In other cases, they are not. For instance, if you're about to log on to a site, there are policies that you have to read before you sign up. So some countries have made that compulsory for tech companies residing in their countries to provide that information to users so that they can read it and then sign up to it. But not everybody reads the detail of what is there. Now, so you are aware of the amount of data that will be collected, but as to how your data is used, not all of them are disclosed.
You do not know for sure?
Yes.
That's because of this 10 to 20 page, terms and conditions and agreements.
Yeah.
That realistically, and even you who love technology, realistically, can you read all these pages before you tap agree or I accept? Is mostly not possible, is it?
Yeah, almost. I think less than 40% of people take their time to read it to understand. And some of us who are within the tech sector understand the functions of some of those devices and how the data gathering is done. So it's not all that we try to, and later we even clear some of those traces on our machines. Yeah.
Because many of us are unable to read these terms and conditions that are usually very long. Are there things or clauses in there that every consumer or every user has to be aware of?
Yeah. For instance, how your data is being used, especially if you are on a site.
Is that stated clearly how your data is being used in a document?
Not specifically. Okay. They make you understand that your data will be used. And sometimes companies are forced to provide information that your data can be used and that information can be used to harm you. So in those cases, the users will have to think and ponder over it before they agree to sharing their data in terms of with the site that they are visiting or the application that they are using. But not all details as to how the data is being used, who the data is being given to, is made known to.
So we are all literally at the mercy of companies who take our data.
Yeah.
Because if they don't stay for sure that this is exactly what I'm going to use your data for, then it means that's just free information on you they're using for other things. Yeah,
that is why you have to be careful what information you make available out there and how you do.
Not to put data in a bad light, but what are the positives of gathering data, especially for this company?
Yeah, we have very positive sides. For instance, this COVID-19 tracking, you realize the US government asked Google, which developed the Android application, and Facebook to help, and also iOS in the tracking of people that have been affected and how they move around based on traces on their phone. Because the phone has a GPS capability, and then it can locate people, and any activity you do with the phone, there are records that can be traced. So that is one advantage. It can also help in tracking terrorists. It can also, yes, it can also help in tracking terrorists.
Terrorists?
Yes. Even in Ghana here, there was a recent case where a military officer was killed and then buried, and it was the phone that led to the investigation of the case. And there are a lot of cases that the data about you can be used to solve. So it depends on whose hands this information are in. That will determine.
So you're telling me right now that as we sit here, is it a possibility that national security or the government has data on each of us?
Well, I can't say they have data on each of us, but I can tell you if they want to know whether we are here together, they will know that we are here together.
Oh, they can know where you are.
Yes, it's easy for someone today to know that you and I are sitting here, or I'm within this studio, or within this infrastructure. It's very easy.
And that's all traced through your phone?
Yes, through your phone, and also the data you generate. So a different site can also do that. Let me give this example. For instance, we provided a training for people within the national security, the police recently, and also the military. So the military commander wanted to know, the one in charge of the directorate wanted to know how their officers are performing on the program. So we, at Ghana Communication Technology University, we build an application where we put that into the system. So we can know which video you watch, how long you've watched the video, and then how you interact with the system, and when you log on, and how often you log on. And we make all this information available. So it's easy for those data sets to be gathered, either through session, the cookies, or you can use the identifier based on the advert that Facebook and iOS are struggling over. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, sure.
Of course, the whale and the sea when it comes to this data is Facebook, who in turn owns WhatsApp. It's the biggest messenger in the world, and Instagram, the biggest photo sharing app in the world. It means that there's unlimited data for this company, and this company is still asking consumers to use their data on larger platforms. For instance, I just spoke about WhatsApp saying that we want to use your data on the larger Facebook platform.
Yeah.
How is this beneficial or dangerous to the consumer?
Okay, so I'll talk about the benefits and I'll talk about the danger. Facebook is a company that is very data hungry.
It's data hungry.
Yes.
Obviously.
Yeah, so when they connect Facebook to WhatsApp, what it means is that the precision of the data becomes more, and then the understanding of the consumer becomes more. Because your chats can be analyzed to profile you. And your conversation with your friends can tell a lot of story about who you are. And your activities on Facebook, for instance, you have your age there, you have certain information there, the kind of friends you have, you put all those data sets there. And WhatsApp have your number. So, and then where you've been to, how you move, the kind of activities you do, all those things can provide critical information for Facebook. So if they can connect these two data sets, they'll be very powerful in terms of having data that they can use for effective marketing, crime fighting. If these data fall into the bad hands of a government that is can use that to target people, it's very easy. So, and also if criminals can have access to these data sets and use them and mine them in different way, that can be used against people, that can also put their lives in danger. So connecting Facebook and WhatsApp provides a very large powerful system that can be used to do a lot of stuff. And for instance, let me give you this example. If Ghana government wants to execute a project, let's say in Kumasi, and there is another government that is also interested in that project, you know, people within the government sector do communicate using mobile devices. They communicate also via WhatsApp and stuff like that. And you can understand how the project is going just by their communication without being there. And you can also understand the demography of the area based on the nature of business they want to set up, whether the business will be viable, because a lot of youth there are on Facebook and they are also on WhatsApp and also LinkedIn. So you can understand the work they do. You can even estimate the salary they earn to determine how profitable the business will be based on. So this data that they collect and analyze can provide a competitive advantage for companies that have coming from a different country to bid for certain projects and win it, which makes the competition a little bit unfair, but they use data as a competitive advantage. So it's a lot. I can keep on giving you.
But does it really sound like there's a lot in there for the consumer? It's just I give my data and the companies use it their way.
Yeah,
that's beneficial to them.
Yes.
But not necessarily beneficial to me in any particular way.
Yes, it's not beneficiary to you. But if in case we want benefit, that means we also have to learn how to generate our data set, integrate it, and use it.
So this is basically a win for the person who gathers the data.
Yes, always a win for the person.
So we can be clear from here on now that the person who is giving out his or her data is at a disadvantage.
Yes.
To the person who's gathering the data.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
How does that make you feel as someone?
But the future looks a little bit hopeful. Last 2 years, when we were in, I was in Italy, we met at a global meeting. That's a computer society, a very powerful branch in the world that governs a lot of things in computing and the IEEE. We were looking at artificial intelligence, data security. So we also have some of the engineers for Lamborghini there, where they are looking at the fourth industrial revolution integrated into these smart cars and stuff like that. So sometimes it can be beneficial to you. So one of the people from EU data section asked this question that, should we give autonomy to machines to make certain decisions? And I said yes. So sometimes machines will have to take over human activities and make decisions. So she was a little bit lost, and I gave an instance. Now, assuming we have a diabetic patient that is driving a car, and then that diabetic patient is having an effect and cannot no longer control the vehicle again. And then people also worried about devices being embedded in the human body. So if there is a device embedded in the human body that can analyze the performance of you, that device will know that you are going through a very serious condition. And that device will now send a signal to your phone and also inform the car that you are having these problems. So the vehicle should take over the driving, and then you could see the advantage of that. And also, the devices can now contact maybe the hospital. The hospital can also prepare based on the resources they have, the data that is collected on your body and stuff like that. It will make it easy for your life to be safe. So with systems like this, yes. But the only worry is about how secure that data is from someone else that wants to harm you.
Who wants to harm you.
Yeah, that's where cryptography comes in.
Of course, the devices that people use are not made by WhatsApp.
Yes.
Nor are they made by Facebook.
Yeah.
So the technological hardware giants like Apple do not seem to agree with this new data move by WhatsApp. Can a company like Apple stop WhatsApp from making such a data move?
Yes, they can stop them. And I think that is why they've given option for people to make their identification for adverts available, and they can consent themselves to it. Because this identification that they are trying to provide options for people to agree can be accessed by anybody. So which means that if you have an app or somebody, you logs onto somebody's website and other activities, they can access this unique ID on your device, and they can also liaise with other third-party companies to know maybe which sites you've been, the items you've purchased, and then stuff like that. And that can be used to profile you. And at the same time, it can be used to provide services in terms of goods and other things that you normally search for. And when the things are within your vicinity, it makes that available to you. And at the same time, it can also be used to prevent crime. So maybe if somebody is buying a set of devices that can be used to make an explosive, the intelligence agencies who have access to still that ad can use it to understand what these guys are buying and what they are trying to use it for. So it depends on whose hands it is.
Companies like Samsung also weighing in saying that WhatsApp should exclude its users from this new data move. How's this going to play out? Are they going to... is WhatsApp going to, code a specific app for Samsung users because Samsung disagrees with their new data move?
Yeah,
or they would have to be forced to leave this hardware.
Okay, that is what the e-commerce industry is now, and then those who are into marketing, e-marketing is now trying to see, and they foresee that future coming. So they are trying to use other alternative where they can encourage individual web application developers to gather data on their clients by themselves so that they can use it. So even if that happens, there is a way to go about it. So and they can also choose to share those data sets at different levels, okay, which means that they will decentralize some of the unique identification based on the devices and make it based on how the user moves and interacts with this system. In that case, then it will be up to the user to decide which sites that they think or believe they can provide certain critical information to that will not be necessarily directly dependent on the hardware devices as it used to be. Yeah.
Of course, bombs in downloads from Telegram and Signal. These are competitor message platforms that have been seeing some good fortunes lately.
Yeah.
Thanks to WhatsApp's move to expand its data and take it to a bigger platform.
Yeah.
Should we be aware that when Telegram and Signal also get bigger, they will do the same things?
Yes, of course they will do the same.
So
yeah,
this is a lose-lose. Yeah.
yeah. It's a lose-lose. They will do the same thing. I think the move was also fast-tracked based on the statement Elon Musk also made. in terms of advising people to move to Signal. But they will also be doing the same, because in order to stay much more competitive and make more profit, the data you gather, you have to sell it and make money out of it, and you cannot always make it available for free. So even though they too will begin like this, it's highly likely that they will also be making their data available to third parties and to be used to.
So this is about staying on top.
Basically. Yeah, it's all about staying on top.
This is about winning.
Yes.
Of course, I see articles of why you should not use the new security feature on WhatsApp, and on all these articles that you read. For someone who completely doesn't understand what's going on with this WhatsApp thing, what are the new changes and what should people be wary of with this app, WhatsApp app in particular?
Yeah, I think the bottom line will be people should be careful in terms of the data they generate. Okay. Because irrespective of these features and stuff like that, still, the data is going to be used. And then a very good example, if you are using Zoom account, you realize that even your communication in terms of speech to text can be done easily. So there are analytics behind the system that analyzes your communication. So even though it is end-to-end encryption means that if I'm communicating to you, the data is secured over the network. It doesn't necessarily mean that the data cannot be decrypted by maybe.
That's what it means. So when we see end-to-end encryption, it means the data will be secure within WhatsApp.
Yes, within WhatsApp.
It does not mean that it cannot be.
But WhatsApp can also decide to understand what you are communicating.
Okay.
Yes. So that is it, because they generate most of those keys for you, and then most of the things you use for that activity reside on the phone. So they can choose to access it to understand what you are trying to. So
end-to-end encryption means that our communication between you and I is safe between you and I.
Yes, independent.
But the company can have a look at it.
Yes.
So the end-to-end is just preventing our communication from being viewed by another.
Perfect.
Another consumer.
Yes.
Is that it?
Yeah, sure. And the same thing that the current transport layer security has provided, that is TLS version 1.3. And that is why China wasn't that comfortable with the rollout of the TLS version 1.3, and they blocked it, and then they allowed the TLS version 1.2 to be more used, because TLS version 1.2 can be, you can intercept the data, the traffic over the internet, and then you can decrypt it easily. But the TLS version 1.3 cannot be easily decrypted. Yeah, so that's how end-to-end encryption can make decryption very complex for people and very difficult for a third party to break into. Yeah.
You mentioned that this is basically a move just to stay on top.
Yes.
Let's connect this discussion to our question of the day that we're asking today.
Yeah.
Are you still active on Facebook? Why or why not? The reports in the last couple of years seem to indicate that millennials are falling out of love with the Facebook app.
Yeah.
Hence the purchase of Instagram, and also acquisition of WhatsApp. This is just a strategy to stay on top, is it?
Yes.
Do you really, as someone who analyzes technology, see that there's now a gap between millennials and Facebook?
Yes, but for users, it depends on why they are there. For instance, if in case you have a lot of people, users that you connect to on Facebook, and you want to sell products or market yourself, you still look up to Facebook. But based on what Apple will be doing, the only limitation is that you will not be able to do a lot of target marketing and reach wide range of audience that will be making that service available. So even though there will be a little bit disruption within the system, still people will still go ahead and use those applications and services for whatever they want to use it for.
Is it possible that in our lifetimes there will be no bigger social media platforms than Facebook and Instagram?
There is going to be, but it's going to be a little bit different from what is currently in existence, because the advances in the face of artificial intelligence, and then the advances within connectivity space, and the advances within brain interfacing. And recently you realize that Elon Musk was successful by his company that's engaged in brain interfacing to let monkeys play video game with their minds. So, and also there was a communication where a Kenyan also
monkeys play video games
with their mind. So when brain interface and the connectivity between machines and humans becomes more of a reality, there will be changes within the space of social media, and then different forms of technology will come into being, and how the data is being generated and used will also come into being. And when we also have much more of computers part of us, because right now phones are part of us, but we are going to have devices that will actually be part of our bodies. That will provide very good already.
Explain this to me a bit. Devices that would be a part of our body.
Yeah, for instance, the example that I gave last year, when I was in, I'm part of the WHO working group also as well, and also for this. So we were in Germany last year at Fraunhofer Institute of Technology, and we've seen most of these technologies, and we evaluated them that are used, that are going to be used within the field of medicine. For instance, people even walk around with watches, and then that watches pick information from their bodies.
The Apple Watch does that.
Yeah, so
tells you're sitting too much, you need to take a walk, all of that.
Yeah, sure. Okay. And with that, and then also with pacemakers that have to replace your heart and other things, there are going to be devices that are going to be embedded in our bodies that will collect data on your human body and make services much more better for you. So, for instance, if you're about to eat a food, and then the computer understand. We are working on that project at GHOne Communication Technology currently. I'm also part of the ACM group that is working on the responsibility AI, how we can make artificial intelligence more responsible. So we've started working on that project also at GHOne Communication Technology, where we grow foods and collect data on the food and try to see the composition. And at the end, we will be looking at the cooking and estimate the amount of nutrients in it. So if that is done, anybody who goes and try to eat that food, and imagine you have that chip also in your body that analyzes, that can communicate with you to tell you whether the food you're about to eat will be good for you or not, and how the amount of food that you can eat that will be okay for you, that your body can. So that is the positive
That's interestingly scary. Do you have a chip in your body?
No, not now, but definitely I will use one when
I was just checking I was checking the scan on your right side. I was thinking
sure
he possibly has a chip in his body.
No, but those are technologies that are going to help us and going to save a lot of lives. Yeah, sure.
I mean, we've talked about a lot this morning. Looking at the fact that data is now gold and everybody wants data. The entire tussle in Silicon Valley is just for data. How close are we to real artificial intelligence? I mean, real utility in homes, in offices, and in real life?
Okay. Artificial intelligence is already here in terms of, but we've not reached where we really want to reach. We are very far away from where we wanted to be. Because as we sit here, your phone itself is...
And by the way, artificial intelligence heavily depends on data, I believe.
Yes. Okay. Your phone itself, your phone knows you better than yourself, and your phone can understand you. Your computers in the house understands you. The way you interact with your operating system, also your operating system understands you. How you type and interact with the keyboards, they understand you to that effect. And also your software behave intelligently. So the artificial intelligence is already here, and then it's going to expand. And we are very much advanced in some of the things. Even though some too, we are a little bit behind. But Ghana can benefit more from usage of data in terms of data governance and how we can use data and generate data to make services much more better for people within different areas. So we can understand our road networks and see how best we can fix it. We can determine where we can put certain businesses to be more profitable for us as a country. So we as a country haven't been using data heavily, but we have a lot of opportunities.
You're proposing that the country uses data heavily to improve the livelihoods of people.
Sure. Within the sector of governance and all those kind of things, we can use data to understand disputes. We can use data to understand distribution of funds when budgets are read. We can see and we can monitor and see how those things will impact lives and how to develop a decent. We can connect data to healthcare, education system, where we can we can understand whether the quality of professionals we are providing are actually going to meet those demands. Yes, we can.
There's a lot to do with data.
Yeah, sure. There is a lot to do with data. We can benefit from that and then develop. And now that we have the Center for, I think, Trade here in Ghana, we can capitalize on that.
Yeah, I think Ghana is the capital for AFTA now.
Yeah, AFTA. So we can capitalize on that and make sure we dominate data, and we can lead in using data to make the businesses much more possible, and also make sure we become superior within the data gathering and analysis alliance within the...
You're a technology student. You love data.
Yeah, sure.
But I'm going to ask you to finally put the minds of the users of these platforms and all these technologies at rest. How do they also feel? Like, oh, these are ways that I can also protect myself as an individual consumer of a certain technological product. Talk to us about that before we go.
Yeah, so for instance, certain services that anybody at all who build an application that you install on your device, that person can have access to other forms of your data. Those ones, you have to check your settings to make sure you prevent those applications from having access to those information, because that can put you at risk even if someone bad can have access to it. For instance, if somebody wants to rob you and the person can have access to that third party, the person knows you're at work and no one is in your house.
The person knows where you are.
Good. So they can use that to kind of... so you have to be careful which application you use and which permissions you've given to those applications on your devices. So I think that is the only side that you can actually control. But you cannot control the capabilities of that is given to the operating system, because those who build the operating system like iOS, Android have much more power and control over what they access on your hardware devices than you yourself. So, but for other,
it's really a fight the consumer is never going to win, but you're just going to try to.
Yes, you just try to see how we can reduce the.
I personally discourage a lot of using locations, especially when in the moment. I do not like to do that.
No, even if
am I being paranoid, or that's a good thing?
No, even if the location is off, it doesn't mean it is off. Okay, because what you are seeing on your screen just indicates that
that pop-up message that says you put your location on and I decline. It doesn't mean that it's off.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that it's off. It can be, yes, because it can be made inaccessible to other applications, but not to the device you are using itself. And now a lot of people don't know that even when they take pictures, there are geographical coordinates in the pictures.
Yeah.
So we can tell you exactly where you've taken this specific picture and maybe even the direction you are facing and stuff like that. That are used for forensic investigations.
And so when you go on Instagram, you could see where you've taken your pictures, whether it be in America or London or Accra, wherever.
Yeah, because they are geographically tagged. So even if your GPS is off, it is only off to third-party applications that have to have access to,
but not to the device.
Yes, and some of them.
So I'm basically just I'm doing a cost 90 job, yeah.
Yeah, that's why I say it depends on who is collecting the data sets.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah.
Time after time we have these conversations, you get to establish that as a consumer you can't really do much.
Yes, you can't really do much.
So I mean, it's discouraging to tell my viewers that you can't really do much about people who collect your data and use them, but I guess it is what it is. If you want to use these apps, then you have to also, give away some form of data for these companies to process and use. And so that's not really a win-win situation for the consumer. Yeah. But it's a game where the tech giants want to stay on top, and so they need your data to stay on top. I don't think there's much to do about that. I want to thank you, Dr. Kester Quist-Aphetsi. Thank you for coming, and you're such an interesting professor too, doctor. Interesting looks, interesting hair. Everything.
Yeah,
that's very interesting. Thank you for coming to see us, and I believe we'll see you again soon.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, we've been speaking about data protection and privacy. I hope you've listened in, and I hope you understand that there are ways to protect yourself, but then also there's not a lot you can do about it. I'm back with Jackie after the break. This is Expressive.